Have you ever noticed that the harder you chase something, the further it seems to slip away? It sounds counterintuitive, but modern science, quantum physics, and consciousness research has uncovered a truth few people are willing to face. Your desperate attachment to a specific outcome is often the very thing standing between you and what you want. It's like being so hungry for a job. You spend weeks stressing and searching, getting nowhere. But the moment you finally let go of the pressure, suddenly 3 opportunities pop up out of nowhere. That's not a coincidence. Most people spend their lives trapped in a roller coaster of highs and lows because they don't see the critical divide between intent and attachment. You can have a crystal clear intention, but if you're emotionally tangled up in meeting that one result, it's like holding water in a clenched fist. The tighter the grip, the more it escapes. Here's what really happens. When you care too much, you build up what physicists call excess potential, a disturbance in the energetic field that the universe compulsively balances out. How does it do that? By either delivering the opposite of what you desire or making you wait until you release that desperate need. Tesla alluded to this with his fascination for 3, 6, and 9. Each number, he believed, codes a level of consciousness. 3 marks intent, 6 is emotional excess, and 9 is true conscious detachment. Most people live stuck on 6, wanting so badly they accidentally shut down the flow. Think about the observer effect in practical life. When you obsessively watch, you interfere. When you witness with ease, you allow. The mind, consciousness as the architect of reality, can only do its job when it isn't anxious about what's ahead. In this video, you'll learn how the holographic nature of the universe means you're never locked into just one reality, and how adopting the method of conscious detachment acts almost like tuning a cosmic antenna, activating that hidden part of you capable of switching realities without resistance. If you're tired of sabotaging your own dreams by caring too much, subscribe and turn on notifications. There's a reason YouTube only shows videos like this to those who really want to go deeper, not those obsessed with the next quick fix. Let's start with the first major issue. Most people confuse intensity with effectiveness. They believe the more force you put behind an intention, the faster it manifests. But quantum physics and consciousness research show exactly the opposite. When you squeeze too hard, you create the same applies to manifestation. There's a sweet spot between intention and detachment you need to discover. The problem is our culture teaches the opposite. From childhood, we learn that achievement requires effort, that results come from persistence, that quitters never win. And this works in the material world to a point. But when you enter the realm of consciousness, those rules flip upside down. The observer effect in practical life works like this. Your focused attention collapses quantum possibilities into physical reality. But there's a subtle difference between focused attention and anxious attention. The first allows, the second interferes. It's like the difference between stargazing on a clear night and trying to see stars with a flashlight. The artificial light ruins your natural vision. Here's where many people get lost. They interpret detachment as not caring about anything. But that's not it at all. True detachment is a sophisticated form of caring. It's like being the gardener who plants the seed, waters it just right, then trusts the natural growing process. He doesn't dig up the soil every day to check if it's sprouted. That would kill the plant. Notice something curious. Your most powerful manifestations probably happened when you least expected them. That opportunity that came out of nowhere, that chance meeting that shifted everything, that idea that hit at the perfect moment. Why? Because in those situations, you weren't creating resistance with excessive expectation. Simplified multiverse theory helps us understand this better. There are infinite versions of your life happening simultaneously. One where you got what you want, another where you're still struggling, another where you gave up completely. The more you vibrate at the frequency of lack. Let's talk about the second problem, confusing faith with control. Many people think having faith means obsessively visualizing, repeating affirmations 1,000 times a day, creating vision boards with pictures of what they want. But that's not faith. That's anxiety dressed up as spirituality. True faith is releasing control while knowing there's a greater intelligence orchestrating things. It's like sending a text message. You type it, hit send, and trust it reached the other person. You don't keep hitting the send button 50 times or call asking if they got it. You simply trust the technology. The holographic universe explained shows us that each part contains the whole. This means the seed of your manifestation already exists within you the moment you form the intention. You don't need to keep hammering away. You need to allow it to develop naturally. Carl Jung's archetypes and the unconscious reveal another important aspect. Often what you think you want consciously isn't what your soul actually needs. When you attach too strongly to one specific form, you might be blocking something even better the universe is trying to deliver. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates this. There was someone desperately trying to land a job at one specific company. She did every technique, visualization, affirmations, sent her resume 20 times, even tried to manifest a casual encounter with the director. Nothing. The more she pushed, the more doors slammed shut. One day, exhausted from all that useless effort, she simply gave up. Not on working, she kept looking for other opportunities. But she gave up that obsession with that particular company. 2 weeks later, a former colleague recommended her for a position at an even better company with higher pay and benefits she didn't even know existed. What happened? When she released attachment to the how and where, she freed up space for something far superior to manifest. The mind, as reality's creator, can only function when it's not suffocated by need. Here lies the third problem, the difference between wanting and needing. When you want something, you're in a position of power. You can choose to have it or not. When you need it, you're in a position of scarcity. Your life depends on it, and scarcity repels. Tesla's 369 significance gives us an interesting formula. The 3 represents creating intention. The 6 represents amplification through emotion. And the 9 represents confident release. Most people get stuck on 6, amplifying emotion so much they transform desire into desperation. Think of it this way. When you're extremely hungry, you can't really taste food properly. Excessive hunger interferes with the experience. The same happens with any manifestation. Excessive need interferes with the creation process. Hermetic principles in practical life teach that as above, so below. To want abundance, you need to feel abundant. To want love, you need to feel loved. But how can you feel abundant when you're desperate for money? How can you feel loved when you're starving for a relationship? The answer lies in what I call spirit of abundance. It's possible to feel rich even without money in the bank, to feel loved even without a partner. How? By focusing on what you already have instead of what you lack. Gratitude for what exists instead of anxiety for what's missing. This isn't self-deception, it's vibrational alignment. When you genuinely appreciate what you have, you vibrate at abundance frequency. And at that frequency, more abundance flows naturally. Fourth problem, spiritual impatience. We live in an era of instant gratification. Want to watch a movie? Netflix. Want food? DoorDash. Want information? Google. And people expect manifestation to work the same way. Thought it, asked for it, received it instantly. But reality operates in different time layers. Some things manifest quickly because there's no internal resistance. Others take longer because you need to become the person capable of receiving and maintaining what you desire. Pineal gland activation happens when you can sync your internal rhythm with universal rhythm. And universal rhythm doesn't always match your personal urgency. It's like wanting a tree to grow faster because you need the shade. Doesn't work that way. Scientific spiritual awakening shows us that time is relative. Einstein proved that time perception changes based on your speed and position in space. Similarly, your perception of manifestation timing changes based on your state of consciousness. When you're anxious, 5 minutes feels like eternity. When you're in flow, hours pass like minutes. Getting into manifestation flow, that state where you've planted the intention and you're trusting the process, subjective time accelerates and things seem to happen faster. Let's address the fifth problem, obsession with signs. When people start studying vibrational law, they develop a tendency to look for external confirmations constantly. Saw 11:11 on the clock? It's a sign. A bird flew by? It's a sign. Someone mentioned something related to what you want. It's a sign. The problem is when you're hunting for signs, you're creating anxiety and attachment again. Real signs appear naturally and unmistakably. You don't need to search for them. They simply present themselves. Besides, focusing too much on external signs takes focus away from what really matters, your internal state. The hidden secrets of reality are within you, not in the coincidences of the external world. David Hawkins' consciousness map shows us there are different levels of perception. At lower levels, fear, anger, pride, you interpret everything as confirmation of your fears. At higher levels, acceptance, love, peace, you don't even need signs because you already have internal certainty. Here's where it gets interesting. At the level of conscious detachment, you stop needing external proof because certainty comes from within. It's like when you're truly in love. You don't look for evidence that the person loves you back. You simply know. Let me ask you something that might make you reflect. When was the last time you manifested something significant without effort? Without techniques, without visualizations, without affirmations? Think about it. It was probably something you wanted, but were desperate to have. That's the state you want to cultivate. Wanting without needing, desiring without clinging, intending without controlling. It's a delicate balance, but when you find it, things start flowing in an almost magical way. Now we dive into the sixth problem, the difference between surrender and giving up. Many people confuse these two, but they're opposites. Giving up is leaving the game. Surrendering is changing how you play. When you give up, you stop believing it's possible. When you surrender, You stop believing you need to control how it happens. The difference is subtle, but transforms everything. Simulation theory, under spiritual vision, helps us understand this. Imagine life is like a super advanced video game. When you try to control every pixel on the screen, you crash the system. But when you understand the game's rules and flow with them, you access levels you didn't even know existed. Stoicism applied to modern life teaches something crucial about this. Stoics made a clear distinction between what's under your control and what isn't. They focused all energy on what they could control, their thoughts, attitudes, and actions, and practiced total detachment from results. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't passive resignation. It's strategic empowerment. Applying this to manifestation, you can control your intention, your vibration, and your aligned actions. But you can't control timing, form, or circumstances through which your manifestation will arrive. And when you try to control these variables, you interfere with the process. Notice something that happens constantly. You want one specific thing, but the universe delivers something different. That ends up being much better. This isn't coincidence. It's superior intelligence operating through your intentions. The seventh problem is what I call technique addiction. There are people who collect manifestation methods like trading cards. They do 3-6-9, write 55 times 5, practice visualization, use moon water, hold crystals, and the more techniques they do, the fewer results they get. Why? Because multiple techniques create scattered energy. It's like planting 20 different seeds in the same pot. None will grow properly due to lack of space and nutrients. The truth is, any technique works when you bring the right state to it. And no technique works if you're in the wrong state. The right state is exactly this: clear intention plus detachment from results. Parallel timelines in spirituality show us that each decision creates a new reality. When you keep jumping from technique to technique, you're constantly changing timelines, never letting any one solidify completely. It's better to choose one simple approach, maybe just clear intention, followed by inspired action, and maintain energetic consistency, then experiment with 1,000 different things. Let's talk about the eighth problem, the comparison trap. Social media has created an environment where everyone seems to be manifesting incredible things all the time. You see people posting about their achievements and start wondering, why doesn't it work like that for me? First, remember that social media is everyone's highlight reel, not their complete reality. Nobody posts about the times techniques didn't work, about moments of doubt, about difficult internal processes. Second, each person has their own timing and their own lessons. Comparing your journey to someone else's is like comparing chapter 3 of your book to chapter 15 of theirs. It doesn't make sense. Quantum immortality theory suggests that each individual consciousness experiences a unique version of reality. This means you're not competing with anyone. You're co-creating your own personal version of the universe. When you stop comparing yourself and focus on your own journey, you free up enormous energy that was previously being wasted on envy and self-criticism. Ninth problem, unconscious resistance. Sometimes you do everything right consciously, but there's a part of you that doesn't believe you deserve what you want or fears the changes that would come with the manifestation. For example, you want financial abundance but unconsciously associate money with corruption or loss of integrity. Or you want a relationship but fear losing your independence. These unconscious resistances sabotage the process. The mind, as reality's creator, operates on multiple layers. The conscious layer might be totally aligned, but if the deeper layers are in conflict, results get compromised. How to solve this? First, by developing self-awareness. Pay attention to your fears and resistances. Second, by working on these issues with honesty. There's no point pretending they don't exist. A useful technique is what I call internal conversation. When you notice resistance, ask yourself, what part of me is afraid of this? What does that part need to hear to feel safe? Sometimes the resistance isn't about the thing itself, but about how you imagine others will react. Fear of judgment, fear of changing family dynamics, fear of leaving people behind as you evolve. 10th problem, the "I've tried everything" trap. Many people reach a point where they say, "I've tried every technique, read every book, watched every video. Nothing works for me." But here's the thing. If you've tried everything and nothing worked, maybe the problem isn't the technique. Maybe it's the energy you bring to the technique. Maybe it's the belief that nothing works for me that's become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The practical guide to vibrational law is pretty simple. You get more of what you are, not what you want. If you're someone who believes nothing works, the universe will confirm that belief by giving you experiences where nothing works. The solution isn't trying more techniques. It's changing your internal identity. Instead of, "I'm unlucky and can never manifest anything," how about experimenting with, "I'm someone learning to work with universal laws"? Identity shift changes everything. Because when you see yourself differently, you act differently, make different decisions, interpret events differently. 11th problem, confusing action with inspired action. Many people think detachment means being passive, waiting for things to fall from the sky. But that's not it. Detachment means acting without neurosis. It means doing your part with dedication, but without obsessive anxiety about results. It's like a farmer who plants, waters, and tends the crop, but doesn't stay awake at night worrying whether it'll rain or shine. Inspired action comes from a place of flow and naturalness. You feel you need to do something, and you do it without forcing. Neurotic action comes from fear and rush. You do things because you're desperate, not because it feels like the right moment. How to distinguish? Inspired action gives energy. Neurotic action drains energy. Inspired action feels right even when you don't understand why. Neurotic action feels forced even when it makes logical sense. Sometimes inspired action is doing nothing. It's waiting. It's trusting that perfect timing will reveal itself. Our culture has trouble with this because it interprets patience as laziness. But there's a huge difference between passive waiting and active waiting. Active waiting is when you keep intention alive but don't force events. It's like an experienced hunter, alert but patient, ready to act when opportunity arises, but without desperation that scares away the prey. Let's address the 12th and perhaps most misunderstood problem, the illusion that detachment means not caring. This might be the biggest misconception of all. Detachment isn't emotional coldness, it's emotional freedom. You can care deeply about something and still be detached from the outcome. In fact, true detachment is only possible when you truly care. How so? When you truly love someone, you want what's best for them, even if that's not you. When you truly want something, you trust the universe will deliver that, or something even better. Detachment comes from love, not indifference. It comes from trust, not resignation. It's the difference between whatever and I trust it'll work out either way. Maybe the real question isn't how do I care less, but rather how do I trust more? How do you develop that unshakable faith that you're being cared for, guided, and that everything will align at the right moment? The answer lies in practice. Every time you release control and things work out on their own, your trust increases. Every time you act without attachment and get results, you strengthen that detachment muscle. Over time, you start to notice the universe has a much more sophisticated sense of timing than you do. And when you collaborate with that timing instead of fighting it, life becomes much more fluid and surprising. Here's where the double-slit experiment's spiritual meaning becomes crystal clear. In quantum physics, particles behave differently when observed versus when they're not. When you're watching obsessively, you collapse possibilities into limited outcomes. When you're not forcing observation, infinite possibilities remain open, applied to your life. When you're constantly checking, measuring, and analyzing your progress, you limit what can emerge. When you set intention and then allow space for the unexpected, you keep all timelines available. The practical vibrational law guide isn't complicated. It's about finding that sweet spot where you care enough to take action, but not so much that you strangle the outcome with need. Think about the most successful people you know, not just financially, but in relationships, creativity, fulfillment. They tend to have this quality of relaxed intensity. They're passionate about what they do, but they're not desperate about results. They work hard, but they're not attached to specific outcomes. This is the state you want to cultivate. And here's the beautiful paradox. The less you need a specific outcome, the more likely it is to manifest. The less desperate you are, the more magnetic you become. It's like dating. Desperate energy repels, confident energy attracts. It's like job interviews. Neediness shows, competence speaks for itself. It's like art. Forced creativity feels fake. Natural expression moves people. Now, let me ask you something that might shift your perspective completely. What would happen if you trusted that everything you truly need is already on its way to you? What would change in your daily experience if you genuinely believed the universe has your back? Most people can't even imagine this because they're so used to swimming upstream, fighting for everything. But what if you could learn to flow downstream, working with the current instead of against it? This isn't about becoming passive or giving up on your dreams. It's about becoming strategic about where you put your energy. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to control uncontrollable things, you focus completely on what you can control. Your thoughts, your vibration, your choices, your responses. The hidden secrets of reality aren't hidden at all. They're just operating at frequencies most people can't access because they're too busy creating interference with their own anxiety. When you master the art of conscious detachment, you essentially tune into those frequencies. You become like a radio that can pick up stations others can't because you've eliminated the static. And once you're tuned in, manifestation stops feeling like work and starts feeling like play. It stops being about forcing outcomes and becomes about allowing unfolding. It stops being about controlling life and becomes about dancing with it. the hermetic principles in practical life teach us, as within, so without. The external world mirrors your internal state. When you're internally frantic, the external world feels chaotic. When you're internally peaceful, opportunities flow naturally. David Hawkins' consciousness map shows us that at the highest levels of awareness, you don't even think in terms of manifestation anymore. You just live in alignment with your true nature, and everything you need organizes itself around that. But you don't have to reach enlightenment to benefit from these principles. You just need to practice the delicate art of caring without clinging, wanting without needing, acting without forcing. It's a skill, like playing piano or learning a language. At first, it feels awkward and unnatural, but with practice, it becomes second nature. And once it becomes second nature, your whole life starts operating from this place of relaxed power. So here's what I invite you to consider. For the next week, try this experiment. Pick one thing you want to manifest. Nothing too big or emotionally charged. Just something you genuinely enjoy having. Set the intention clearly. Then practice the art of caring without attachment. Take inspired action when it feels natural, but don't force anything. Notice what happens when you operate from this space. Notice how different it feels from your usual approach. You might be surprised to discover that the less you grip, the more flows to you. The less you chase, the more comes seeking you. The less you need to control, the more influence you actually have. This is the quantum field responding to your new frequency, the frequency of confident trust instead of desperate need. Here's something you might never have considered. How much of your life have you spent trying to force things that could have flowed naturally? How many opportunities slipped away because you were gripping too tightly to other possibilities? The truth is, there's an entire universe of potentials waiting to manifest through you. But most people never access these possibilities because they're stuck in total control mode. And there's a specific reason for this. Something to do with how our society has programmed us to believe effort always equals results. But here's where it gets mysterious. There are levels of reality operating simultaneously that you can't even imagine. Layers of consciousness that determine not just what you manifest, but the speed and ease with which it happens. And when you understand how to navigate between these layers, well, that's when things get really interesting. The next video that's going to appear on your screen will show you something few people know about how reality actually works behind the scenes. Information that could very well reorganize how you see everything that happens in your life. The fact that you made it this far means there's something in you that recognizes these truths, something that knows there's more to discover. Click on the next video and continue this journey of discovery. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.